The stars looked peaceful through the window of the endless dawn. Commander Hyrie stood on the bridge, watching. The distant lights blur into streaks as the ship traveled through space. She felt tired but satisfied. The peace talks with the Vexian Empire had gone well. After 3 long months, both sides had finally agreed to stop fighting. Commander will be home in 4 days, said Tijun, her tactical officer. He was young but smart, always checking the sensors and keeping everyone safe. Yet he smiled. Good, I miss Earth, I miss real coffee. The crew laughed. They had been drinking recycled substitutes for months. 47 people on this ship, all wanting to go home. Some had families waiting, others just wanted to sleep in their own beds. Nari, the pilot, turned from her controls. The route is clear. No ships nearby, smooth sailing from here. That's when everything went wrong. The alarm screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed everywhere. Tijun's hands flew across his console, his face going pale. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're surrounding us. High's stomach dropped. Who are they? Kryeth. Dominion vessels, 6 warships there, powering weapons. The Kryeth. High heard of them, a new species in the galaxy, only discovered 50 years ago. They were big, aggressive, and loved war. Their culture worshipped strength. Combat, they thought diplomacy was weakness. Hail them, Hyrie ordered. Maybe we can talk. A face appeared on the screen. It wasn't human at all. Kryeth looked like a massive reptile, with 4 eyes and sharp teeth. Armor covered his scaled body. This was their Wararkeef Thulrech, human vessel. Threk's voice was deep and rough. You will surrender your ship, your cargo, and your lives now belong to the Kreneth. Dominion. Harry stepped forward. Diplomatic ship. We carry no weapons, no cargo worth taking. We're protected under Galactic Council law. 3 laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. Laws are for the weak. We are hunters. You are prey. This is the natural order. Listen to me, Carrie said, keeping her voice steady. There's a rule in this galaxy. Ask any of the old species. They'll tell you, don't pursue humans, don't hunt us. We have heard this foolish rule. 3 said. Old species are afraid of their own shadows. They grow soft with age. We are young, strong, and fearless. We will show the galaxy that humans are nothing special. Behind him, another Kreneth spoke quickly in their language. Here's his translator caught some words. Warning and ancient records and reconsider. 3 snarled at his subordinate. Silence. I am Warchief. We will take this prize. The screen went black. Shields up, Yari shouted. All power to engines. Nari, get us out of here. But it was too late. The Kreneth ships fired. Energy weapons tore through space. The endless dawn shook violently. Sparks flew from broken consoles. The lights flickered, shields failing. Tun called out, hull breach on decks 3 and 4. Wu Jin, the chief engineer, spoke through the comms from the engine room. I can't keep the ship together. We need to evacuate. Carrie made the hardest decision of her life. All hands, abandon ship, get to the escape pods. Move, move, move. The crew ran through the shaking corridors. Alarms blared. Smoke filled the air. People helped each other, making sure no one was left behind. This was what humans did best. They took care of their own. You stayed on the bridge with Tijun until the last moment. Go, she told him. I'll set the auto-destruct to buy us time, not without you, Commander, Tijun said firmly. They ran together. Behind them, the endless Dawn was dying. Fire spread through the corridors. The ship groaned like a wounded animal. They reached an escape pod just as another explosion rocked the vessel. 12 people squeezed into the small pod. High slammed the launch button. The pod shot out into space just as the endless dawn exploded. The blast lit up the darkness like a small sun. Through the pod's small window, High watched her ship die. Debris scattered in all directions. Other escape pods floated nearby, tiny metal bubbles holding her crew. Count off, she said into her comm device. All pods report in, one by one. The pods responded. Her heart lifted. All 47 crew members had made it out alive. They were scattered across several kilometers, but they were alive. Then Three's voice came through the comms. Clever humans, but escape pods are slow, easy to catch, easy to board. We will hunt each one of you. This will be entertaining. Harry watched the craft warships spread out. They were starting their hunt, treating her crew like animals to be tracked down. Tajan looked at her. What do we do, Commander? Harry's jaw tightened. She thought about the warning she tried to give. Rule that every old species in the galaxy knew. The Kreneth were about to learn a very hard lesson. We survived, she said, and we make them regret this. Around her, the others in the pod looked scared but determined. Minyu, one of their marine escorts, checked his small sidearm. It wouldn't do much against a warship, but it was something. They think we're prey, Nari said quietly. Yari looked at her crew. These were diplomats, engineers, scientists, and a few soldiers. Not an army, not warriors. Just people who wanted to go home, but they were humans, and humans had survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and countless wars. They had climbed to the top of Earth's food chain, not through strength or claws, but through something else, something the Kreneth didn't understand yet. Persistence. Let them think that, Harry said. For now, in the distance, Kryath ships moved between the asteroid field, beginning their hunt. They didn't know it yet, but they had made a terrible mistake. They hadn't just attacked a human ship. They had triggered something ancient in human nature, something that had made humans the most successful hunters on Earth. The chase had begun, but the Crnth would soon learn who the real hunters were. Yuri looked at the stars and made a silent promise. They would all get home, every single one of her crew, no matter what it took, no matter how long. The Kryath had violated the oldest rule in the galaxy. Now they would learn why that rule existed. 3 days had passed since the endless dawn exploded. 3 days of floating in the cold darkness of space, hiding among the asteroids. The escape pods weren't meant for long-term survival. Food was running low. Water was recycled until it tasted like metal. The air was stale, but the humans were still alive. Commander Hayuri had organized them into groups using encrypted communications. The Kryath were listening, of course, so the humans used old codes, simple patterns that the aliens couldn't crack easily. Each pod knew where the others were. They moved carefully between asteroids, staying hidden. The Kryath were hunting, but they were getting frustrated. In Pod 7, Nari and 5 others watched a Kryath scout ship pass nearby. They held their breath, staying absolutely still. The pod systems were powered down to minimum. No heat signature, no electronic signals, just cold metal drifting like any other piece of space debris. The Kryath ship moved on. That's the 4th time today, whispered Dion, their medic. They keep searching the same areas. Their Getting sloppy, Nari observed, angry. That was good, angry hunters made. Mistakes, in another sector Minyu was preparing something special, his pod had drifted close to an old mining station. Abandoned years ago, the station was damaged but some systems still worked. He had found something useful, very useful. Tijan, you reading me? Mino spoke softly into his comm. I read you came. The reply. What did you find? The mining station has fuel cells and old mining charges explosives. There was a pause. Then Tijan's voice came back excited. Can you set a trap? Working on it now. Minyu floated through the dark station. His podmate Borum kept watch. They had been lucky. Their pod had a marine and an engineer. Borum could fix almost anything. Together they were dangerous. They worked quickly, taking the mining charges, rewiring them, setting them key locations throughout the station. When they were done, the entire station was a bomb waiting to explode. Now we need bait, Minyu said. That's when they heard it, a Kreneth transmission, loud and clear. They were close, perfect timing, Borum said with a grim smile. They powered up their pod, sending out a distress signal. Then they hid in the station's old control room, waiting. The Kryeth took the bait, a boarding ship attached to the mining station, armored. Krenth warriors entered, weapons ready. There were 6 of them, each one twice the size of a human. Their scales were dark green and gray. Their 4 eyes scanned the corridors. They moved like predators, confident and aggressive. They found the escape pod, empty. Humans were here, one Kreneth growled. Search the station. Minyu watched them through a cracked window. His heart pounded. They were so big, so strong. But they were also walking into a trap. He looked at Borum, who held the detonator. Wait, Minyu whispered. Let them spread out. The Kreneth split up, searching different sections of the station. They were talking to each other, laughing. They thought they had the humans cornered. Now, Minyu said. Borum pressed the button. The explosion tore through the mining station. Fire and debris shot out in all directions. The Kreneth boarding ship was destroyed. Instantly, the warriors inside the station had no chance to escape. When the blast cleared, there was only wreckage. Minyu and Borum had been protected in the reinforced control room. They pushed out through an emergency exit back to their pod. As they flew away, Minyu spoke into the comm. This is Pod 4, 6 hostiles eliminated, mining station destroyed. Her voice came back. Good work, Pod 4. All units, did you hear that? The prey fights back across the scattered pods. Humans listened. They heard the hope in their commander's voice. They weren't helpless. They could fight, but the victory came with a cost. Pod 12 wasn't as lucky. The Kryeth had found them. Nari heard the screams over the comm. Before the signal cut out, 2 people captured: Wu Jin, their chief engineer, and a young navigator named Hana. The Kreneth broadcasted their capture to all frequencies, wanting the other humans to see. Wu Jin and Hana were held in a Kreneth prison cell, bruised but alive. Threk's face appeared on every screen. 2 humans captured. They will tell us where the others hide. This hunt is over, but Harry knew Yuen. She knew all her crew. They wouldn't break. They couldn't, not because they were heroes, but because they were human, and humans protected their own no matter what. Wu Jin sat in the cell, his arm broken. Hana was beside him, scared but trying to be brave. The Kreneth interrogator entered. His name was Vorsh, and he Enjoyed this work. Tell me where your pods are hiding, Vorsh demanded. I don't know, Wu Jin said. It wasn't even a lie. The pods moved constantly. He didn't know their current positions. Vorsh hit him. Pain exploded through Wu Jin and LT Unk and GT's body. You will tell me or she suffers. He pointed at Hana. Wu Jin looked at the young woman. She was only 23, fresh out of the academy. This was her first deep space mission. She was terrified, but she shook her head at him. Don't tell them anything. I don't know, Wu Jin repeated. Meanwhile, in Pod 3, Ji-yoon was working. He was the science officer, good with computers and communication systems. He had been listening to Krenath transmissions for 3 days, learning their language, understanding their protocols. Now he was doing something clever. Tian Ji-yoon said, I've cracked their command frequency. I can hear their tactical chatter. That's good, but we need more. Ti-jun replied, can you disrupt them? Better, I can feed them false information. Jun's fingers flew across his small portable computer. He found the Kryath network exploited a weakness in their encryption. It wasn't hard. Kryath were warriors, not programmers. Their security was designed to stop brute force attacks, not clever manipulation. He sent false signals, phantom contacts, fake PUD locations. The Kryath sensors started seeing humans everywhere, their ships scattered, chasing ghosts. It's working, Jian reported. They're confused, chasing false signals. Hai smiled in her pod. Her crew was adapting, using their strengths. The Krenath had weapons and armor, but humans had something better. They had intelligence, creativity, and the will to survive. All pods listen up. Yeti said, the Cry think they're hunting us. They're wrong. Starting now, we hunt them. We hit their supply lines. We damage their ships. We make them afraid of the dark, Commander Dune said. From her pod, we're diplomats and scientists. Most of us aren't soldiers. No, Harry agreed. We're humans. That's more dangerous. Over the next hours, the pods coordinated. Mino shared his explosive trick. Other pods found ways to be useful. Pod 8 had a chemist who created acid from cleaning supplies. Pod 6 had an electrician who could overload power systems remotely. They weren't an army, they were something scarier. They were desperate, intelligent, and creative humans, each one bringing their unique skills to survive. The Kryath started losing ships. A scout vessel had its engine sabotaged. A supply runner hit a mine made from pod components. Boarding team walked into an ambush at another abandoned station. Thalrech watched the reports with growing anger. His warriors were dying. They were supposed to be the hunters. How were these weak humans causing so much damage? They're just prey, he roared at his officers. Find them, kill them all. And GT. But his second-in-command, Ralph, looked worried. Wararkeef, perhaps we should listen to the old warning, the rule about humans. Maybe there's truth in it. 3 struck him across the face. Coward, we are Kryath, we fear nothing. Yet in the dark of his command room, alone, Tollard, how long would this hunt take? How many warriors would he lose? The humans weren't acting like prey, they were acting like something else, something that didn't know how to quit. 2 weeks had passed since the hunt began, 2 weeks of cat and mouse in the asteroid field, but something had changed. The Kryath were no longer confident. They moved carefully now. Nervously, their communications were filled with worry. They had lost 12 Ship's 43 warriors dead, and they still hadn't caught all the humans. In the Galactic Council chambers, thousands of light years away, an emergency meeting was called. Representatives from a 100 species gathered. The chamber was ancient, built when the galaxy was young. Its walls held the wisdom of civilizations that had risen and fallen over millions of years. Velar, the council elder, was 5,000 years old. His species, the Axion, had been traveling space when humans were still living in caves. He had seen empires rise and die. He knew the patterns of history. The Krenth have made a grave mistake, Feller said to the assembled representatives. His voice was old and tired. They have pursued the humans, a younger species. The Korvax didn't understand, so they humans are just one species. Why does this matter? Velar looked at them with sad eyes. Because you are young, you don't remember, but we do, the old ones. Remember. He activated a hologram. Ancient records filled the air, images of war, of burning planets, of a species called the Krell. 400 years ago, Velar began. The Krell were powerful. They had conquered 50 systems. They were feared across the galaxy. Then they made a mistake. They attacked a human colony. Ship killed some of the colonists, took others as slaves. The survivors escaped in small ships in the Korvac. Representative asked, and the humans didn't surrender. They didn't ask for peace. They ran. The Krell pursued them. It seemed like a simple hunt. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned. The Krell expected quick victory. Velar paused, letting the weight of history settle. The hunt lasted 30 years. Humans scattered across 40 systems. The Krell chased them, but something strange happened. Every system the humans passed through, they learned. They adapted. They built new ships from scraps. They studied Krell tactics. They got smarter, stronger, more dangerous. Another elder from the Tani species spoke up. I remember. The humans turned it around. They stopped running and started hunting. Within 50 years, the Krell civilization was gone, extinct. The humans hunted them across every world they had conquered. But why? The Korvax asked. Why couldn't the humans just make peace? Because of Earth. Velter said. The human home world. Do you know how humans evolved? They were not the strongest animal on their planet, not the fastest, not the biggest. There were massive beasts with huge teeth, fast predators with sharp claws, poisonous creatures, but humans survived all of them. Do you know how? Silence filled the chamber. Persistence. Hunting. Velar continued. On Earth, humans would find a prey animal. The animal would run, but humans would follow. They wouldn't stop. They would track it for hours, sometimes days. The animal would rest, thinking it was safe. But the humans would keep coming, step by step, hour by hour, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Then they humans would strike. The hologram showed ancient humans on Earth's plains, walking, always walking, following animals that were faster and stronger. But the humans never stopped, never gave up. They just kept coming. This is in their biology. Velar explained. Humans can run for longer than almost any animal. They can cool their bodies by sweating. They can carry water. They can think, plan, adapt. And most dangerous of all, they never know when to quit. It's not just culture or training. It's in their genes. Millions of years of evolution made them into the perfect pursuit predators. So the rule, they Korvax said slowly, understanding now. Don't pursue the humans, because once you Start the chase, they won't stop until. You're dead, exactly, Veeler said. Krill learned this too late. Now the Kryeth are learning, back in the asteroid field, the lesson was becoming clear. Sun Ho, one of the medics, had made a discovery. He was a doctor, not a soldier, but he was also a scientist. In Pod 9, he had been studying the asteroid field. Some of these rocks contained bacteria, ancient microbes that had survived in ice for millions of years. Hai Siongo said over the comm, I found something. These bacteria, I can weaponize them, explain, Harry said. They're harmless to humans, but they Kryeth biology is different. If I modify these bacteria slightly, they'll cause a severe infection, not deadly but very painful, very distracting. Can you deliver it? If we can get it into their air systems, yes. Tyan had an idea. Pod 11 is close to a Kreneth supply ship. If we can board it, plant the bacteria in their ventilation system, it'll spread to their whole fleet when they transfer supplies. It was risky, dangerous, but it might work. Pod 11 had Kyongsu, a maintenance tech, and Mira, a linguist, not soldiers, not trained for combat, but they were human. And humans did what needed to be done. They approached the supply ship carefully. It was big, designed to carry food and equipment for the Kreneth fleet. Only 4 guards on duty. The Kreneth weren't expecting an attack. Why would they? The humans were scattered, hiding in pods. Kyongsu and Mira used magnetic clamps to attach their pod to the supply ship's hull. They cut through with a plasma torch, creating a small hole. Then they entered. The inside was cold and dark. They moved silently through the cargo bay. Mira had studied Kreneth language and culture. She knew their ship layouts. She guided them to the ventilation system. Kaungu planted the bacterial containers, small devices that would release the microbes slowly into the air. By the time the Kryeth noticed, it would be too late. They were almost out when a guard appeared. The Kryeth was huge, armor covering his scaled body. He saw the humans and roared. His hand went to his weapon. Mira acted on instinct. She grabbed a heavy tool from the wall and threw it. The tool hit the Kryeth's helmet, cracking it. Kyonggu tackled the alien's legs. They had seconds before more guards came. They ran back through the cargo bay, through the hole in the hull, into their pod. They detached and fired their emergency thrusters, shooting away from the supply ship. Alarms blared. THRN knew they'd been boarded, but it was too late. Over the next 3 days, the infection spread through the Kreneth fleet. Warriors started getting sick, fever, pain, disorientation. Their doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. The bacteria was unlike anything in their medical databases. Thretch himself fell ill. He lay in his quarters, his 4 eyes burning with fever. His second in command, Ralith, stood over him. Wararkeef Rith said carefully, we need to stop. This hunt is destroying us. The humans are not prey. They're something else. 3 wanted to argue, wanted to roar in command, but he was too weak, too sick, and deep down he was starting to understand. The humans weren't fighting like prey. They were fighting like predators, smart, patient, relentless predators. How many? 3 asked Weekakli. We started with 6 ships, 300 warriors. Now we have 4 functional ships, 217 warriors still alive, and we haven't caught all the humans. Talrich closed his eyes. They had hunted 47 humans in escape pods. Those humans should have been easy targets. Instead, his fleet was falling. Apart in Pod 1, Hai received reports. From all her scattered crew, 45 of them were still free, 2 were prisoners, but even Wu Jin and Hana were causing problems. They had convinced their guards that they needed medical attention, then escaped during the transfer. They were hiding somewhere in the Kreneth flagship now, sabotaging. Systems status report, here he said. How are we doing? Tejin replied. We've damaged or destroyed 16 Kreneth vessels. The bacteria is spreading through their fleet. Their supply lines are broken and Jiyun has completely compromised their communications. They can't coordinate effectively anymore. Good, Yuri said. Now we wait. For what, Commander? Hey, Ari smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had her prey cornered. We wait for reinforcements. I sent a message to Earth 14 days ago. Help is coming. In the distance, reality rippled. Ships dropped out of hyperspace. Big ships, human ships. The United Earth Nations fleet had arrived. And they weren't here to rescue. They were here to finish what the Kreneth started. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like sharks smelling blood and water. 15 warships, each one built for combat. The flagship was the Retribution, a massive dreadnought that could destroy a city from orbit. On its bridge stood Admiral MJI, her face hard and cold. Scan for our people, MJI ordered. 47 life signs detected. Her tactical officer reported, scattered across the asteroid field. 2 signals coming from inside a Cryoth vessel. And the Cryoth 4 warships remaining. Their fleet is damaged. Multiple systems failing. They're trying to form a defensive position. Me allowed herself a small smile. They think they can defend. How sweet. Open a channel to Commander Hayuri. The connection crackled to life. Admiral Me. Good to see you. Yari's voice came through, tired but strong. Commander, I got your message. Sorry it took us 14 days to arrive. Are you and your crew safe? Mostly. 2 prisoners aboard the Cryoth flagship, but they're doing fine. Causing chaos last I heard. Good, MJI said. We're here to finish this, but I want to give you the honor. What would you like us to do? Kiri thought for a moment. 2 weeks of running, 2 weeks of fighting with nothing but escape pods and clever ideas, 2 weeks of being hunted like animals. Now the tables had turned completely. Surround them, here, he said. Don't let a single ship escape. The Kreneth wanted to hunt us. Now they get to see what happens when you pursue humans. Understood. Fleet move into position. The human ships spread out in a perfect formation. Each Cryoth vessel was covered by multiple human warships. Escape was impossible. The hunters had become the hunted. On the Kreneth flagship, Thulrich dragged himself to the bridge. He was still sick from the bacterial infection, but he needed to see this, needed to understand what was happening. War Chief, his sensor officer reported, voice shaking with fear. 15 human warships. They have us surrounded. Their weapons are locked on. Thaler looked at the displays. The human ships were positioned perfectly. Every angle covered, every escape route blocked. This wasn't random. This was the work of experienced military minds. These weren't diplomats and scientists. These were soldiers. How? Thalrech said. How did they call for help? We monitored all their communications. Ralith, his second in command, looked at the data. The diplomatic ship, before we destroyed it, someone sent a tight beam Message, we thought it was just a distress call to any nearby vessels. We didn't think it would reach Earth itself. How long ago? 14 days. 14 days. The humans had planned this from the very beginning. Even as they scattered in escape pods, even as they ran and hid, they knew help was coming. They just needed to survive long enough. Communication came through. Admiral Mee's face appeared on screen. She was older than high, maybe 60 years old. Her hair was gray. Her eyes were sharp. She looked like someone who had seen a lot of war and hadn't lost a single battle. Krenath vessels, this is Admiral Mingi of the United Earth Nations Fleet. You attacked a diplomatic ship. You hunted our people. You violated Galactic Council law. Surrender now or we will destroy you. 3 wanted to fight. Every instinct in his warrior culture screamed at him to attack, to die with honor, but he looked at his remaining crew. So many had died already. For what? For pride, for a hunt that should have been simple. Admiral Thal said slowly, we did not know the old rule. We thought it was just a legend. It's not a legend, Me said coldly. It's a warning written in the blood of species that made the same mistake you did. Krell pursued humans 400 years ago. Where are the Kree now? Warchief extinct. 3 admitted. Exactly. Now you have a choice, surrender or join them in extinction. Inside the Kryeth flagship, Wujin and Hana heard the conversation. They had been hiding in the ventilation system, moving through the ship like ghosts. They had damaged navigation, weapons and life support. 2 humans, causing chaos throughout an entire warship. Should we stop? Hana whispered. The fleet is here. We're safe now. Wu Jun thought about it. His arm was still broken from the interrogation. His body hurt. He was exhausted, but he looked at the Kreneth crew running around, panicking, trying to fix the systems he had sabotaged. Not yet, Wu Jin said. Let them understand completely. Let them feel what we felt. He moved to another access panel, cut more wires, disabled more systems. The Kryeth ship groaned, its engine stuttering. On the bridge, Tholi was failing, and somewhere inside his own vessel, 2 humans were destroying it from within. 2 small, weak humans. How had it come to this? Send the surrender signal, Thorich said quietly. War Arkif, no, one of his officers protested. We are warriors. We die with honor. There is no honor in pointless death, Thorich said. He had learned that lesson too late. We attacked diplomats. We hunted prey that turned out to be predators. We violated a law we should have respected. This is not a battle. This is the consequence of our arrogance. The Kryeth fleet sent the surrender signal. Admiral Me received it. She nodded to her crew. Cease weapons, lock, send boarding teams. Secure their ships, find our people. Human Marines boarded the Krenath vessels. They moved with professional efficiency, weapons ready but not firing. The Krenath warriors were disarmed, their ships secured. It was over in less than an hour. Wu Jin and Hana emerged from the ventilation system. When human Marines found them, they were dirty, injured, exhausted but alive. The Marines treated their wounds, gave them water and food, real food, not recycled paste. Good work, the Marine sergeant said. You 2 caused a lot of trouble for these aliens. That was the plan, Wu Jin said with a tired smile. One by one, the escape pods were recovered. Each crew member brought aboard human ships. They were given medical care, Food, clean clothes, Hai was the last. Aboard the Retribution, she walked onto the bridge still wearing her torn uniform and saluted Admiral Mi, 47 crew members all accounted for and alive. Harry reported, mission complicated but successful. Mi returned the salute. Well done, Commander, you kept them alive for 2 weeks with nothing but escape pods. That's impressive, they kept themselves alive. Hai said, I just gave orders, they did the impossible part. MJI looked at the reports, the improvised weapons, the sabotage, the hacking, the biological warfare. 47 civilians fighting a military fleet and winning. The Galactic Council is going to hear about this, Mi said. The Kryeth need to answer for their crimes and the galaxy needs to remember why that rule exists. What will happen to them? Hai asked, looking at the captured Kreneth ships. That's not my decision, that's for the Council, but I imagine they'll serve as an example. The newest species to learn an old lesson. 3 was brought before Admiral Mi and restraint. He was still sick, still weak. He looked at the human Admiral and saw something in her eyes. Not mercy, not hatred, just cold professional judgment. You will face the Galactic Council, MJI told him. You will answer for attacking a diplomatic vessel, for hunting civilians, for violating every law that keeps this galaxy civilized. I understand, Thulrech said, but I must know how. How did your people do this? We are warriors trained for combat. Your people were diplomats and scientists. How did they fight so well? Minji looked at him. Because they're human. We evolved as hunters. War Arkeef, not the biggest hunters, not the strongest, but the most persistent. On Earth, our ancestors would chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Days, sometimes weeks. We never stopped. That instinct is still in us. When you pursued Commander Hai's crew, you triggered millions of years of evolution. You turned civilians into hunters. I see, 3 said quietly. Rule, it makes sense now. Too late for you to learn, MJI said, but maybe your species will remember. Tell your people. Tell everyone the rule exists for a reason. Don't pursue the humans because we will never ever stop. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as Thal stood before them. Representatives from 100 species watched, some with curiosity, others with knowing looks. The old ones, species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years, watched with sad eyes. They had seen this before. Velar, the ancient Axian elder, presided over the hearing. His voice echoed through the chamber. War Arkeef, Thalranath Dominion, you are charged with attacking a diplomatic vessel, attempting to capture and kill its crew, and violating the protected species protocols. How do you answer? Guilty. The said. There was no point in lying. Every species in the galaxy had seen the evidence. I attacked the human ship Endless Dawn. I ordered my fleet to hunt the survivors. You were warned, were you not? Balar asked. The humans told you of the rule, do not pursue their kind, yet you ignored this warning. I believed it was superstition, Threk admitted. My species is young. We have been in space for only 50 years. We thought the old species were afraid of shadows. We wanted to prove ourselves strong, and now Balar asked, what do you believe? Now 3 looked up at the gathered species. Now I understand the rule is not about fear, it is about survival. Humans are pursuit predators. Once you start the chase, they never stop. They adapt, they learn, they turn the hunt around. We lost 300 warriors, hunting 47. Civilians, we lost because we didn't understand what humans are. Murmurs ran through the chamber. The younger species looked shocked. The older species nodded. They knew Commander Hyrie was called to testify. She stood before the council, still tired from her ordeal, but standing straight and proud. Behind her stood her crew, all 47 of them alive and well. Commander Hyrie Belter said gently, "Tell us what happened." In your own words. Yuri took a breath. We were returning from peace negotiations with the Vrexian Empire. We were attacked without warning. Our ship was destroyed. We evacuated to escape pods. The Kryeth pursued us, treating it like a game, like we were animals to be hunted. What did you do? We survived. We adapted. We used every skill we had. Engineers built weapons from scraps. Scientists created biological warfare. Medics treated wounds with limited supplies. Hackers disrupted enemy communications. Marines set traps. Everyone contributed. We weren't soldiers, but we became what we needed to be. And you never considered surrender? Hyrie looked directly at Thulrich. No, because surrendering to predators just means dying on their terms. Humans don't work that way. We fight, we persist, we keep going until we win or until we die. There is no middle ground. A new voice spoke up. It was Sola, a human xenobiologist who specialized in comparative species evolution. She was invited to explain humanity's nature to the council. If I may, Sola said, stepping forward, I can explain why humans behave this way. It's biological. On Earth, humans evolved on plains and savas. We weren't the strongest animals. Lions, bears, and other predators could kill us easily. But we had advantages. We could think. We could communicate, and most importantly, we could run. She activated a hologram showing ancient Earth. Humans developed persistence hunting. We would find prey like an antelope. The antelope was faster, could sprint away, but it would tire quickly. Humans would follow at a steady pace for hours, sometimes days. The prey would rest, thinking it escaped, but the humans would keep tracking. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion. Then humans would strike. The hologram showed ancient humans tracking animals across vast distances, always walking, always following, never stopping. This shaped our biology. Sola continued. Humans can regulate body temperature through sweating. We can run for longer distances than almost any animal. Our brains evolved to track, predict, and plan. We became the most efficient endurance hunters on Earth. This trait is still in us. When threatened, when pursued, we activate millions of years of hunting instincts. So the rule, a young Korvax representative said, don't pursue humans. It's because pursuit triggers their hunting response. Exactly. Saul, if you attack humans, they may flee initially, but they're not running in fear. They're positioning themselves for a counterattack. They're buying time to adapt, and once they start the counter hunt, they will not stop. It's not cruelty or vengeance. It's biology. Humans are literally incapable of giving up. Veeler looked at the assembled council. The Krell learned this 400 years ago. They pursued humans across 40 systems. The humans turned it around and hunted the Krell to extinction. We established the rule to prevent more species from making the same mistake. The Krenath violated this rule. Now we must decide their punishment. Thal stood quietly. Accepting his fate, he had brought this on himself and his people around the chamber. Species debated what should be done. The Kryath had violated sacred laws. They had attacked diplomats. People had suffered, but it was Yuri who spoke up. If I may address the council. Please, Commander, Balar said. The Kryath made a mistake, a terrible one. But they're young. Their species is only 50 years into space travel. They didn't. No, they didn't understand. She looked at Thal. He listened to his warrior culture instead of the wisdom of older species. That's a mistake many young civilizations make. Are you asking for mercy? Felter asked, surprised. I'm asking for education, Yuri said. Don't destroy the Kryath. Teach them, make them serve as an example. Let them tell their story across the galaxy. Let other young species hear what happens when you pursue humans. That's more valuable than punishment. The council deliberated. Finally, Velar spoke. The council has decided the Krenath Dominion will be placed under human protection for 20 years. They will learn from human culture, human history, and human ways. They will send representatives to Earth. They will study why the rule exists, and they will help spread this knowledge to other young species. 3 looked at Yuri, confused. Why? We tried to kill you. We hunted your crew. Why show us mercy? Because we understand, Harry said. We understand what it's like to be young and arrogant. Humans made plenty of mistakes on Earth before we reached the stars. We fought each other for thousands of years. We destroyed our own environment. We learned slowly. Maybe we can help you learn faster. 3 months later, a memorial was erected at the Galactic Council headquarters. It showed the Endless Dawn and listed all 47 crew members. They had survived an impossible situation through intelligence, adaptation, and sheer human stubbornness. The memorial's plaque read, in memory of the Endless Dawn incident, a reminder of humanity's nature and the oldest rule in the galaxy. They were diplomats, scientists, and civilians. They became hunters because that is what humans do. We persist, we adapt, we never stop. Below that, in bold letters, do not pursue the humans on Earth. High and her crew were given medals. The ceremony was broadcast across human space. Admiral Me presented each crew member with honors. Tie-in for tactical brilliance, Mingo for combat effectiveness, Xian for technical innovation, Nari for piloting under pressure, Suno for biological warfare, Wu Jin and Hana for sabotage and escape. Every single person played their part. But after the ceremony, away from the cameras, Minyu stood with Hai looking at the stars. Do you think they really learned? He asked. The Kryath, some did. Hai said. Thaler understands now. He's been teaching young Krenath about the incident, telling them why the rule exists, whether his whole species learns. That takes time. What about other species? Will they learn? Harry smiled sadly. Some will, others won't. There will always be young, aggressive species who think they're special, who think the old rules don't apply to them. They'll test us, try to hunt us in. They'll learn the same lesson. We'll never stop fighting, will we? No, Gary said. That's not who we are. Humans don't stop. We evolve to keep going, to chase prey across continents, to solve problems that seem impossible, to persist when every logical species would give up. That's our strength in our curse. She looked at her crew, scattered around the memorial ceremony, talking, laughing, alive. All 47 of them had faced death and survived through sheer human determination. But that's okay. Continued, because when humans are pushed, when we're threatened, when someone makes the mistake of pursuing us, we show them what millions of years of evolution created. We show them why Earth's apex predator wasn't the one with the biggest teeth or the fastest legs. It was the one that never stopped walking, never stopped thinking, never stopped trying. You looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, young species were growing up, learning about space travel. Some would be peaceful, others would be aggressive. Eventually, one would make the mistake, would ignore the warnings, would pursue humans, and they would learn, because that was the oldest rule in the galaxy, written in history, proven by extinction, taught through pain. Do not pursue the humans. They will never stop, never tire, never forget, and when the hunt ends, it won't be the humans who fall. The memorials, eternal flame burned bright as the ceremony ended. 47 names carved in stone, 47 survivors who proved the rule was not a myth, it was a fact of nature, as unchangeable as gravity, as certain as death. The galaxy would remember, and somewhere in a young warrior civilization learning about the stars,